On vacation, just one, yeah.
I'm like,
Dang,
whatever,
it's
don't make the same,
same.
or go be more.
Barbecues, there's the beach. The heating mix.
Yeah.
Beach, yeah, you don't have that. breeze coming on those. Yeah, I was talking to my son, man, he's outside of Savannah. Yeah.
I think they're,
Doing
I thought it was up.
research on it.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I said,
Really,
he didn't bring up.
the only thing.
We got kids on, just to work on.
Yeah.
I go ahead and ask Commissioner Palmer to lead us in prayer.
Dear Lord, we thank you for all you do for us. We thank you for blessings and opportunities. Just ask that you bless this town, all the people that live in it, all the staff that serves it, and all the businesses that are here, and bless our conversations and help us help those that live here and that need it, and glorify you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Everyone face the colors sheet, you lead us. Do we have any additions, delete?
We have one deletion, the fire chief swearing in, his wife, and granddaughter are sick, so he had chosen to postpone it until August.
All right. I need a motion to approve the agenda as is. So moved. All in favor, say aye. Raise your right hand. Awards recognition, we don't have any. General public comments, do we have anybody signed up?
Yeah.
So we got nobody, okay?
No, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, I make a motion that we accept the routine consent agenda as stated in the agenda packet.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Holly, you got the floor.
Thank you, sir. So we've been having a busy month, which is not out of the ordinary. I'm coming fine. Today, I went and signed the memorandum of understanding with the Outdoor Economy Coalition. That we had recently approved in our budget, a $5,000 expenditure to commit to. Within the last month, we've been approved through the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality for a site at the industrial park to use for the temporary disposal of debris coming out of the river for the river cleanup that the Wilkes Rescue Squad is doing. Of course, that is just temporary. We still will have to dispose of it, but it's a site to locate it. We also, within this last month, I submitted two potential projects to the North Carolina DOT for sidewalk projects to be submitted into the 10-year STIP coming up for 2025 to 2036. Of course, those are still, nothing has been solidified in that regard. It's just for review. We also committed to do a park master plan with this year's budget, and we signed that contract with the COG, the High Country COG, within the last, I think, week. The raw water intake is progressing in the engineering phase. As you all are aware, we have 90% of those easements were completed with the last raw water intake project that didn't come to fruition. So we're still working on getting the piece of land for the actual intake to be located on. And I recently completed a DEQ assessment on ARPA reporting. The ARPA reporting is going to be fairly labor intensive, so we need to be prepared for that. Tyler Holden is our North Carolina lead fellow. He will be starting August 7th. He came for a visit earlier this month. He had a tour with Mr. David Webb and Mayor Mark Hauser, and then went to lunch with a couple of us. I think he's going to be an excellent addition for the next year. We're excited to have him. He just completed his preliminary studies in the month of July at the UNC School of Government. So he is getting ready to move here. We've been working hard on evaluations. Evaluations are due in July for town staff and employees. So we've been I'm trying to push those through the pipeline this month. I recently attended a meeting with the Greenway Council. I went to their board meeting. I spoke with them, Commissioner Parsons had spoken with me, and I think Commissioner Palmer as well, had mentioned to me, we might want to think about installing some blue boxes, which also known as panic stations on the Greenway, just to improve safety precautions on our greenways. And I talked to the Greenway Council about that. They are open to it. They would like us to explore it further, get pricing together, so forth and so on. Not that they're committing financially, but they are, if we, while we own the easements for the Greenway, we like to keep them in the loop on what we're thinking about doing, just to maintain a healthy relationship with them. I have been trying for the last month and a half to get some park improvements quoted. Getting quotes together is harder than it sounds. I had hoped to have those quotes all together today or earlier this week to send to you all. In the last year, you as a board committed $500,000 to for a match for the RPG grant that was submitted on behalf of the River District. That grant did not succeed, so now we have $500,000 reserved in a project, under a project ordinance for the River District. I feel pretty strongly that that money will start, some of that money might serve us better in an amended project ordinance for park improvements. So I will be hopefully bringing those recommendations to you at the next board meeting, depending on quotes and things of that nature. I have shared that list with some staff members and we feel like it could, but I will of course share it at a board meeting. And that is really the hot button items from this month. And I would, and I'm sorry, the clerk search. I have a couple of interviews scheduled for tomorrow, and I will update you as that progresses. Hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll have that position filled. Any questions, or emerging issues?
Couple of things. On the panic boxes for the Greenway, I still think because I still think a good way to potentially look at those is to look at community sponsorship, i.e. businesses and stuff like that. So, as soon as we can get some pricing together, putting it out to, because there's adjacent businesses, there are businesses that also recognize the importance of the Greenway to the health of the community. So, I think it may not be as hard to sell as we think without necessarily having to spend dollars that are really tightly reined for this year. The other thing that I have is in the almost 4 years that I've been on this board, we still have not really developed and I give Commissioner Palmer big snaps for what he has done in the past. But I still think we need a streamlined, efficient, kind of check the box way of doing it for town manager evaluation, because that is part of your employment contract. And so I would say, since your year comes up sometime in October,
Yes.
that it probably is not a bad time to be thinking about a way, and I really direct it more towards the board than to the town manager, in a way to create an effective evaluation process. And so maybe we need to talk amongst ourselves, but it is time for us to address that and put it on the table, so that we can do it effectively and positively, so that we can grow and build from the relationship between the town manager and the board. So I just throw that out there and that's all I've got.
I'll put it on my list too, to get some nudges, and just to. I'll nudge Mark with it, as Mayor House with it as well.
That we got.
Yes, as far as on my end, and then I would welcome emerging issues.
I was at, the park the other day, from the park, was checking things out, and it's looking really good, so
Thank
the painting you guys did is nice. I was in there in the pool house, and I saw we have cameras up down there now, and there's still a few vacant spots, can we just look into maybe some more cameras at
Yeah.
the playground area and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. We recently put cameras at Highland Park. And I think they're a cost of $20 per month for monitoring. So I think, and while there are a lot of different methods we could use, I think just as far as the system, it's very easy, it's very user friendly, so we might go with a few more of those.
And just to kind of loop back around to those call stations on the Greenway, I'm with Michael. I think if you had it so people could put like a flag on there
Our
or
logo, yeah.
like, or something beside it, I think. Some people are looking to give things in people's memory, I think that you could probably not even have to pay for those.
Yeah, I think that there are definitely avenues for paying for those. There also is some safety and security grants. You know, a lot of times at universities, they're granting programs to have those installed, and I think we can explore some of those options, just as soon as we get some costs together on them.
They're gonna be outrageous.
No, they're really not, I mean, from what I've seen, they're really not that ridiculous. I mean, they're not high. They're also, you know, they can be cellular now, so they don't have to be hardwired in, you know, they're all sorts of.
Solar panels.
Yeah,
power.
Exactly, you know, with technology the way it is, there are all sorts of options. But the ones that I've been looking at are called blue boxes, and they're just. And, you know, for the span of the Greenway that we have in our community, it's not that long in our footprint. I think we could probably get away with 3, so.
And do we need like a sponsorship policy?
We have,
Oh, are we done with that?
yeah, we're done, it's been approved, it's through. Yeah, we used it, we used it in the last 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. Any more emerging issues? Okay.
Danny, you got anything?
Not for this portion of the meeting, no.
Ms. Taylor, you're next.
You have the special event policy for downtown road closures in your agenda packet. It's really just a set of guidelines to provide a process for reviewing and approving special events downtown. Just to kind of serve as a framework and a standard for businesses and organizations to follow. For the purposes of this policy, I defined a special event as a pre-planned event, which is proposed to be held on public property in downtown North Wilkesboro that requires temporary road closures. And then the main definitions that I think are important in this are the difference between a town endorsed event and a town sponsored event, where a town endorsed event is any special event that requests town resources related to safety, traffic flow, and temporary traffic control for proper lane closure. So that would be like Cyclovia, the art gallery events that we've had, the Mexican Independence Day celebration, the Brushy Mountain CrossFit held a little celebration for the Murph Mile that they did on Memorial Day. If a restaurant wants to have a few extra seats out in front of their restaurant. A town sponsored event would be an event that requests more than just the safety measures. So any additional town resources, like staff, additional trash receptacles, street sweeping, a stage setup and breakdown. So more along the lines of Apple Festival, light up, that sort of thing. And then I outlined the requirements. The only new things here that are different from what the DOT requires are approval from the commissioners and to complete an event notice for myself to pass out to the contacts that I have for downtown, and then it becomes the event host responsibility to let business owners and residents within the impacted area know a certain number of days in advance of what is planned, so that everybody has a heads up. Outline the certificate of insurance requirements, information about police support, what the DOT requires, and a little bit of information on the social district. And then I also came up with a application and a draft of the event notification for an organizer to provide to the surrounding businesses and residents. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
How many days notice do they have to give to the people involved?
So the event organizer would need to fill out an application and submit an application 90 days before the event if they want to hold the event on a DOT-owned roadway. So that would be the CBD loop, D Street, Main Street, 6th Street, or 10th Street. That's because the DOT requires 60 days. And if we're asking for commissioner approval, then the 30 days gives them two meetings. So that would be the 90 days total. And then a town-owned roadway is 45 days. But to notify event organizers, it needs to be 20 days before the event is the deadline for them to let people in the impacted area know about their event.
Anybody got any questions?
Well, I got something that I'd like to say. Taylor, this checks all my boxes that I had about the events downtown. It kind of makes it inclusive for anyone downtown to possibly host an event. Your policy with the insurance and everything, I really think you nailed it. As far as this whole policy and then your application preparation. So good job, really good job. I mean, I'm very pleased with this to the point where, I mean, I don't know what would be the procedure. Is this a public hearing kind of thing to adopt a policy like this?
Nope.
So I mean, I'm to the point where the way I see it as it's written, I would be comfortable if other commissioners would be comfortable, either this meeting or the next, adopting the policy, but I'd like to hear from some of the others on this, but I'm really pleased with how this was prepared.
Oh, thank you. I read through it, I think it's outstanding.
I'm very comfortable with it also.
So I need a motion, will please.
My only thing is this is a new thing, is people are doing it, be listening to their feedback.
Right.
If you see anything from somebody, that's too big of a hurdle, not saying you have to agree with them, but hear them. And then if you think maybe we should adjust it, bring it back to it, but I think it was good.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks, no, man, I made a motion.
Oh, sorry, I was here listening too hard.
I need a motion to adopt this.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'll make a motion to adopt the event policy as then.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor, say aye, raise your eye. Okay, Finley Avenue stop sign, Meredith, you're up.
I was gonna say, really,
I'm gonna let
yeah. I
Ollie
was gonna
start
say-
it and David Webb
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah, and then she's just gonna fill in where needed. So, we had, at the last meeting, we brought in front of you all, recommendations for revising the Finley Avenue stoplight. We have talked with the North Carolina Department of Transportation as well as local emergency services. There was some discussion about whether we should take out the slip lane or leave the slip lane. Right now, just for expedience and action, we feel like we should leave the slip lane for emergency service vehicles and also our garbage trucks. It's a hard turn to make right there. We would like to remove the stoplight and put in stop signs. The Department of Transportation does not feel like the slip lane is the safest way to travel through there. And in fact, they've said that they've always had a slightly negative opinion of that slip lane. But because of confines right now, we feel like we should leave the slip lane temporarily, install stop signs, go ahead and move forward. People are so familiar with that slip lane, we actually don't have many, issues with it. But in the future, we would like to look at removing the slip lane and adjusting that right turn, so that we can give more width there for emergency vehicles and larger garbage trucks, things that have to drive through there. Things that should be driving through there, garbage trucks and fire trucks, basically. But because of the cost of that, and we want to be reactive to the public, and we feel like we should change it to stop signs, but we also want to wait and take a little time to look at the cost of changing that slip lane before we do so.
Well, why are you putting stop signs up there when you put the road bumps in and that didn't stop anything? Why is the stop sign gonna make any difference? You got all those bumps up there and it still haven't helped anything. And we get rid of this and put stop signs up.
No,
Chief, what do you think?
I think the stop signs will be effective. As far as the slip lane, we do need to keep that for right now, because if there are cars in the right lane of what you're looking at now, a fire truck wouldn't be able to make that right turn, a school bus wouldn't be able to make that right turn. So for now, we need to keep that slip lane.
Our new fire truck can't make that turn hardly now.
But well,
And-
with the slip lane, it can still get through there.
and just to address Martha's concerns, the stop signs are simply to slow people coming through that intersection up off of the hill down. Because they do kind of, no, you're good, go work.
If that light is green and people are coming up Hackett, they floor it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a wonder they don't get airborne because they're trying to beat that light. And I believe that the stop signs, are gonna slow them down. And then also, I think the bigger advantage for the town is gonna be
The
getting
cost
rid of
saving, yeah.
cost saving for the snow lights.
Yeah.
Very expensive to operate.
Yeah. And that is the only, that stoplight is our only town maintained stoplight. So it is quite expensive.
So do we have to take it down or can we just cut it off and trial run this?
We can just cut it off and trial run this.
That's what I do. So
Yeah.
what's gonna happen there? I don't understand. Are we gonna keep that and people can go beyond that and have another stop sign? Because you keep saying the slip lane is gonna stay.
The merge,
Yeah, so they'll continue.
They still have to merge.
there will continue to be a merge there.
And you
Yeah.
still have that wonky, you have that wonky yield,
Yeah,
which,
which has never been favored upon by the DOT. They would like for us to revamp that intersection, which the intention is to do, but we need to assess cost, we need to figure that out. a little.
So are we gonna have a stop sign beyond it there?
No, we're gonna have those 4 stop signs. And then we're gonna have the yield just like it is right now.
But there's a stop sign in that little rocky area in the median, there's gonna be one right there.
well, that's because you're coming up to that intersection, so it needs to be on your right.
But you don't have to go to that, you can just.
Yes,
Take it right.
yeah, you can just take it right
That's
there.
a little weird.
Well,
Well,
but
that's
if you
what
were
it is.
turning into Defending Park from that direction, you would be making a left turn, so that's why the stop sign is there.
So is the person in the slip lane, do they have to merge? I mean, do they have to yield? I feel like they should have to yield. Because they're coming, well, are we gonna change that?
No.
No,
We should.
no.
I had a neighbor ask me about that today. He didn't know about this because everywhere else in life, when you're going into the lane, you merge.
Yeah.
I mean, you do, but anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's not even big issues there for traffic
I mean,
accidents,
I
are
think
there?
that slip lane has been there for so long. I think that most of the users are local users. So I think because of that, people understand the concept and they use it accordingly.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna remind you that, one of our citizens, that came to our meeting last time brought a chunk of telephone pole
Yeah,
with him.
yeah.
To show
Sure is.
what happens at that intersection, so I still think that, I mean, I'm for going ahead and, you know, making this change, decommissioning the stoplight. But I do think that we're gonna need to figure out how to better construct that intersection. Because, I mean, I understand the service vehicles making that right-handed turn. Because, you know, right now, it's still a tight intersection, even on the left-hander coming from Finley Avenue, because I mean, it's tight, it's a narrow, it's relatively narrow, because. I mean, if somebody happens to be sitting in the, coming up Trogdon at that stop sign and the service vehicles are turning off of Finley Avenue left back onto Trogdon, it's still tight. So, you know, I'm all for let's starting the process and then, you know, we'll try to adjust as we go.
But to address what Commissioner Farmer said, I think we ought to take the light down. It's sitting there not burning. It confuses the drivers. They're sitting there waiting for it to change or something. I think we ought to take it down.
I'm just saying,
Leave it back.
Andrew actually said leave.
I was saying leave it in case this don't work.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we were gonna do flashing red with it initially to help alert folks about it and assess the situation. I think that with any change like this, it's, in my opinion, we shouldn't drastically redraw that intersection until we understand the consequences. And I think from, even from my conversation with the DOT, they said, you know, try it, see. I mean, it's one of those, I think sometimes I think it's more trial and error. Because like, for instance, when we put the speed bumps on 6th Street, we have drastically increased this traffic on 9th Street and 10th Street. You know, there are consequences. Every action has a reaction.
I think we should consider turning the yields out. Can I get up off of the TV?
Yeah, yeah.
Because, I mean, and I've had people talk to me about this, but when you're coming this way, you're coming straight here. And you get here, this lane is merging into the straight lane. And every other place in America, this lane yields.
Yeah.
We're making these people yield, and I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Is there a reason?
I think you've got a higher volume coming off
You do have
the merge lane, but it is completely opposite.
Can I ask some comment? If you drive on the right lane and you merge it in, it's really hard to see the left lane.
Mm-hmm,
And otherwise you really have to turn.
yeah.
And that's probably one of the reasons they have the right of the way. I mean, in my way, when I saw it the first time, I was surprised that I don't have the yield. Since, you know, that was like 7, 8 years ago, the first time I've been on that one, I was shocked. And then I been on it, I realized I am glad I have the right of the way because I can't see the other people, especially if it's a green light.
I think the traffic volume coming, and through the slip lane is higher, drastically higher.
It's higher. I still think it'd be safer the other way. That's my vote.
I also,
That's my vote.
well, I was gonna say, you guys, I mean, it is y'all's vote, so, but,
Nobody else, I don't think is concerned, so.
but
you keep-
in addition, I also feel like revamping it with the stop signs. I do feel like we're also raising the potential because people are gonna be focused on the stop signs, so.
Yeah.
I do, anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
Then do we still have those potential idea drawings where we had the different kind of thoughts, what they were gonna do with that intersection up there? Cause I remember at one point, and I mean, not today, not for this, but do we still have some of those conceptual ideas that on paper somewhere, don't we?
I probably still got them where Randy Shaw sent me where he drawed it up to do a roundabout in that intersection.
Well, there was also something I still remember too, where they would just change the radius. You know, they basically moved that corner to create a more rounded radius on that right-hander
Yeah.
from, Henshaw on to Finley Avenue, but
I will check and see what I got.
I mean, it's just, as we go forward,
Right.
you know, if we're gonna do this, we need to just kind of move forward with, you know, trying to. Cause I mean, I do think Andrew's right to, you know, that merge lane has always been a little confusing.
Come straight, or if you come from Hackett Street and take a left, you have to basically cross the intersection and stop again. I think that's weird.
Mhm.
It is.
It's weird, it's not normal.
I ain't surprised there's no more access than they are.
Yeah, but I'm not qualified to.
Also, one more point, people coming from that way is only basically just a residence, because that's not a main road. The one that back on the right turn is more traffic on that than the other side. Would you consider that?
I understand what you're saying, sir, but I come out of there and I know what I see. I can see those people looking at me and they're like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm yielding, so you can go. But that's my point. I think, let's move forward and get it rolling. I think the stop signs, we're trying, so I'm glad we're doing it.
You need a motion for the decommission of the stoplight.
Yes.
Yes. I need a motion to commission the stoplight.
So
Second.
Okay. There's a motion, there's a motion, and I'm saying, all right, listen, all in favor, say aye. All right, let's try it. Okay, we need to call for public hearing on J Street.
Okay, yeah.
So, good evening. I've got the applicant here with me tonight, but this is a petition to close an alleyway that is within our Croydon area. The applicant has asked to close, she actually owns both properties, so it's between the two properties. And there actually is a active sewer line running through there. I believe it might be a service line. Now keep going, that's the truck. Yeah. So, right, for tonight's purposes, all we're going to call for a public hearing on is to close. This alleyway, I think you go down, there's one map. Okay, yes, next one, sorry. This one, okay, so. Now we'll look further, so this is J Street, it dead ends here. And Ms. Hardy is looking to close this section of the alleyway. And we would reserve an easement, and yes, the easement of course would take up the whole alleyway, but all that is to say, if we have to access the sewer line. Something breaks, we have permission to do so. But I believe she was looking to put the fence up, and she called and said, I want to put the fence up, and I'm like, yeah, it's not your property. She's like, how do I make it my property? And I'm like, well, I have to go through an alley closing, which is what she's petitioning to do, and we have to advertise it for 4 weeks. And we also post the properties like adjacent to it. We send out certified letters. So we have to notify everybody this is changing. In her case, only her taxable acreage is going to change. Typically, when you have an alley closing, half the property goes one side, half the alley goes to the other property owner. And so essentially their property increases in size, which is more taxable, gets off of our books. But in her case, it's gonna become all one property, and we'll probably get her to recombine everything for simplicity, so she can get her fence up and enjoy her puppy dog outside.
close that out there.
If I could tell her to go back up, the Trogdons, when the town was laid out, they. This one, so this Trogdon's map. If y'all ever come to the office, I have that huge map in the conference room, it is essentially, they came in and did surveys on. A very large chunk of North Wilkesboro, they also did one in Wilkesboro, but. We have potential roadways all throughout town, and our little craziness, our property lots were like itty bitty. So when you think you are on one lot, in Trogdon's opinion, you were like on 6. So kind of cool history there, but anyway, long story short, we have unopened alleyways and right of ways all throughout town. They have sewer, they have water, they have stormwater infrastructure.
some of them are just empty. So, yeah.
When Roger ran into a hill or a hole or whatever, he just skipped over and continued on the other side. There's what, 3 J Street?
Yeah, so the other thing is the problem is they mapped all this out, but we never built the roadways. So yes, we have multiple blocks of like all of the letters and numbered streets. You don't ever know which end you're on sometimes.
The guy was efficient.
I mean, they envisioned it to be really built out.
It looks like a maze.
It is, today it is, but back then, you know, the potential to grow, it was good. But yeah. Questions for staff?
What date you wanna do this?
I believe with the 4-week advertising, the newspaper, I think we had September 4th was the next meeting. Is the way the newspaper falls with the deadlines. And we're conforming to state statute requirements.
This identifies the property.
So there's a resolution that was included. It's on page 28. You don't have to, I don't think you have to read the whole resolution, right? Yeah. You would just say you're adopting the resolution, we'll put the resolution into the minutes, reflecting that, and therefore the 5th day of September would be the way to hold the public hearing.
September what?
5th.
Just need a motion today to have.
Essentially, what happens when you adopt the resolution is you're directing staff to advertise and follow the statute requirements for an alley posting.
I need a motion to, for a public hearing on September 5th. Closing date.
To adopt the resolution.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion that we adopt the resolution, call for a public hearing of the closure of alleyway located between lot 9 and block 140 of Trump map of North Wilkesboro, recorded at Wilkes County Registry in map book number 1, page 36, and the lots of 11 and 12 of block 140 to be permanently closed.
All in favor, we need a second. All in favor, say aye. First step, policy. Ollie, you got it.
Yes, the personnel policy, is for, shared leave. We have a shared leave program currently. We have simply streamlined the shared leave, request form and also taken out one approval step. The shared leave policy allows for one employee to donate time to another employee in the instance of a medical condition or some other medical related. If a family member's sick and they don't have the time, it just means that you can share with another employee. Minor tweaks on the policy itself, mostly just language tweaks that are not really of much consequence. The shared leave request form has been revamped and streamlined, and then the process, the shared leave request comes to me rather than going through the director and then to me. Our Crystal Keener felt like it was an unnecessary second step to go through, especially when I'm gonna consult them in any instance. This has to go through a 30-day review process because it's part of our personnel policy, and the personnel have to have an opportunity to review it. So essentially, we're streamlining an older, outdated document.
So you don't need no action on that, you have to review it first.
We have
You bring it back to us in 30 days.
yes, we wanna put it out there for publication so that the personnel can review it for 30 days. And we also wanted to make sure that you all didn't want to make any additional changes before we posted it for personnel to review.
And I have a question. Go ahead and put it out there. Job
Thank you.
description, senior equipment operator.
Um,
David Will.
You want me to take it?
You know, I'll say that.
So, we have been trying to hire an equipment operator for, some time. We have had a very difficult time recruiting an equipment operator with their CDLs, their commercial driver's license. So we would like to strike through possession of a valid commercial driver's license issued by the state of North Carolina and change it to a condition of employment for this position is possessing or attaining a valid commercial driver's license issued by the state of North Carolina within the first 6 months of employment. This is a job description, so I would need a vote from you all to change it, but it is not part, but that is simply all I need. I think Mayor Mark Hauser, had discussions with each of you individually about this situation prior. We have plenty of applicants and we have applicants who are willing to get their CDLs, but CDLs are increasingly costly to attain and they are necessary to drive a whole myriad of our vehicles, including our garbage trucks and.
Dump trucks and stuff like that, sweeper and stuff like that.
So this is just essentially, improving the potential recruitment.
And do we have it where they get their license, they have to stay so long, they can't get them and then walk out?
We do not have that as a provision right now.
Yeah, that's something that we need to look into because of the
Yes, I
CDL
agree.
situation and it costing as much as it does now. That's something that we really need to look into.
We could always make that a condition in the hiring in the hiring agreement.
How much is the CDL?
Well, there's different price tags to it, it's according on which school that you can find, and it's been anywhere from like $1,500 to $6,000 for them to go to school to get their CDL. It ain't as easy as looking over. Now what you gotta do is go to the driver's license office, take the exam. Once you pass the exam, they'll issue a permit. Well, in the meantime, by having that permit, you can go online, they'll give you an online place that you can go to take the driving instruction part, classwork. And then once you pass that, then you can go and drive and get your full PDFs.
I think, as you know, we pay for water certification classes. We do, just as an employer, we run a high risk of investing in employees and then losing them. And that comes with cost of doing business.
Yeah, cause I don't think, Rob, your new officers, they don't sign any type of time limit contract after they come out of training, do they?
I actually have one right here. It's a 3-year contract that we do with them.
An agreement, not a contract, an
Yeah,
agreement.
it's an agreement. Yes, sorry, thank you.
No problem.
It's a 3-year agreement and it's kind of like a buy down over 3 years. So if they go somewhere as soon as they get out of school, they owe us for all the time, benefits, everything. If they stay a year, they owe us 2/3. If they stay 2 years, they owe us 1/3. If they stay 3 years, they owe us nothing.
Danny, is that enforceable?
Yes.
I think we ought to do something like that in all these jobs that require us to invest money into the employees.
I would argue that this is I would not argue, I would counter that this is a slippery slope. We invest considerable time in Taylor's Main Street, program and her doing training, considerable time in my school of government training, Meredith's continuing education, building inspectors, we invest in every employee. Now, if you all would like for this particular position for me to put something in the writing, I'm happy to. I just don't want to get into, a situation where we're writing agreements for. Yeah, and I think we really could, I have a school of government training this fall that I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I applied for a scholarship for, but the cost of it is $4,500. So I think that's just kind of a good, gauge for these things.
So this was basically,
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I'm happy to, if you all want to amend this job description again, to have some verbiage in there, I'm happy to. We invest considerable resources in almost every employee.
It's,
What's your, anybody got any comment?
mine is a little different because it's 4.5 months in class.
Right.
And it seems like if they've got a permit, they're working while they're doing their
Yes, they're
training.
working and driving. They can drive with a CDL driver.
So mine's a little bit different. They're not actually in the office in a patrol car working, but we're paying them a reduced rate to sit in class.
Yeah. I mean, we can definitely, this is completely up to you all.
we're doing our thing.
Well, I mean, my thing is, we're already, you've got applicants, but you don't have. I'd say, to me, let's get them on board. Just like we make investments in employees, every business makes an investment in employees. I say, let's just get the position filled and roll the dice.
Just leave it like it is.
Well, why don't you just pay attention if you have a problem?
We do. I mean, they're on a 6-month probationary period regardless. So if we're seeing that their commitment isn't strong, so forth and so on, we're not gonna continue to invest resources.
Well, what I'm saying is, they're talking about doing something, if somebody doesn't take a job, get free training and leave. If that happens, then maybe come back.
Yeah,
But the odds of that happening are probably pretty small.
I apologize for interrupting. I agree.
Yeah, there's not a problem right now. If there is, we'll change it.
We do invest of resources and because we have water, water distribution, wastewater treatment, fire training, police training. I intend to do customer service training with every department in the next 12 months. There's a lot of costs that go into local government employees.
I'm less worried about that, just to make sure that if they sign up, that they get the CDL for liability reasons.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Mayor, make a motion that we accept the amended job description for the senior equipment operator.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Anybody got anything else that we need to discuss? I need a motion to go to closed session. We are
going into closed session, X11 closed session in accordance to 143-318, 11A 4, 5, 6. Conduct a closed session according to GS 143-318, 11A 4 to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body, including agreement on a tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by the public body in negotiations, or to discuss matters relating to military installation, closure or realignment. Any action approving the signing of any economic development contract or commitment, or the act of authorizing the payment of economic development expenditures shall be taken in an open session. And conduct a closed session according to GS 143-318, period 11A 5 to establish or to instruct the public body staff or negotiating agencies concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiation, the price and other material items of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, enclosed, or lease, or the amount of compensation and other material terms of an employment contract and proposed employment contract. or propose employment contract.
Thank you, Andrew. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor, say right.